This episode is brought to you by Vinyl Me Please, a vinyl record of the month club where every month they feature one album that's essential to every vinyl connoisseur's collection and send it to thousands of members worldwide. Each box includes special edition vinyl you won't find anywhere else. And this month's record of the month is Ayalu Mesfin's Hasabe, My Worries, which includes maroon-colored vinyl, an exclusive 12x12 art print by Billy Clark, and a 16-page full-color photo booklet with liner notes. So, upgrade your life, hit up joinvmp.com/extraordinary and get you some of this dope-ass vinyl.
What did you do? What did you prove? What did you do? Bitch ass nigga, fuck did you do? Fuck did you prove? Fuck did you do? Bitch ass nigga, fuck did you do? Fuck did you prove? Fuck did you do? Bitch ass nigga, fuck did you do? Fuck did you prove?
And welcome to the latest installment of the Extraordinary Negroes. It is your boy Jay Connor,
And I'm Alex Hardy.
and what up, black man? What you been up to?
Man, maintaining here. I've been on my ass most of the weekend. I don't know if you've ever had a migraine, but I'm just battling my first in quite a long time. So
Oh Jesus!
it gets one of those shitty ones where it was like gets you behind the eyes and you just want to lay in the closet and be away from the world. So it took me out for most of the weekend, but I'm back in the game.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
I've heard that like you have to turn the lights off. You can't have no sound. Like I heard it's like no joke when you get a migraine.
Yeah, it's like everything's over. Like I started getting them when I was 4, if you can imagine. Like it's the worst thing in the world. They're less frequent now, but that was most of my weekend. I had big plans to go out and go to Jersey land and stamp my passport and all that stuff, but I just had to lay low and keep a cool rag on my head and drink water and not say anything to any human. But other than that, writing still, trying to get busy with these mental health first aid courses. I want to get going again.
Yeah.
Setting up some talks with a couple organizations. I want to teach trying to find some way to do a online creative writing course. People have been reaching out about trying to get some type of continued writing course going. So I want to make that happen. Just a way to reach out to folks, for Black folks to be able to write together, even if you're not in the same space. So thanks to technology, distance is no barrier. So I'm hoping to have that come in the next few weeks.
That's dope, man. On my end, I had the luxury of attending a private advanced screening for Black Panther. Shout out to Disney for inviting me. I'll go into a little bit more detail later on in the show. Also, at the end of this month, I'm going to be attending the Black Joy Parade in Oakland on the 25th. So if you're out there, definitely reach out. Would love to connect with anybody who's a fan of myself, the show, Alex, whoever else. I'm definitely going to be out there. It's going to be super dope. I think I actually might be in the parade, so that'll be cool.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I've been ghostwriting a lot of jokes lately for some comedians, and then they haven't been fucking them up on stage, so that's a good thing.
That's always a win.
I'm going to have a piece out on Huffington Post this week. By the time you hear this, I believe it'll be out. It's going to be on sexual assault and how it affects men and males and how we don't talk about that within the Black community. So that'll be an interesting thing. Also, I'm throwing a mixer. I'm partnering with Creators of Color. Shout out to Eldon, Ray, Rob, all of them heads over there. I'm going to be partnering on a mixer on the 23rd of this month in downtown LA at WeWork Fine Arts Building. We're opening up to any and all creatives. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a writer, photographer, podcaster, actor, musician, artist, whatever the hell, come through and let's build. You know what I'm saying? For more information, well, whenever I put it up there, for more information, you can hit up our website, theextraordinarynegroes.com or thecreatorsofcolor.com. But definitely come through if you're creative who's looking to make some moves or, establish a community or whatever else. It's going to be supremely dope and unquestionably extraordinary. See what I did there?
I want to say one thing real quick, though. Before we move on, I wrote a piece for Very Smart Brothers last week, 2 weeks ago, about not going home. I was open about some challenges that I've been having. It was about not going home for Christmas because I was feeling ashamed about being suicidal. And I posted on the Extraordinary Negroes and on our social media, our Instagram. And I just want to say, like, first of all, writing something like that and putting it out there publicly is incredibly fucking terrifying. But I must say that the response that I've gotten from people, readers, whether people who have helped someone or known someone who dealt with, suicidal ideations or an attempt or a successful completion, or someone who themselves have been dealt with those feelings, like just the response and just the know. First of all, it sucks to know that so many people can resonate with it, but it is good to know that, you're not alone with something like that, and that sharing something like that, putting those types of vulnerable things out, like, isn't in vain. Like, it has made it much, much, much less of a scary and less shitty experience. So I just want to say thank you to, like, everyone who's reached out, both Extraordinary Negroes listeners and readers and everyone else who's been, make this thing a little bit less scary. So shout out to y'all. You're all the best.
And we commend you for your courage, brother.
Thank you.
Also of note, in celebration of Black History Month, this very podcast you're listening to is featured in iTunes and TuneIn for the entire month.
Hey,
we out here. So for those of you who fuck with the home team, tune in. As an added bonus, you can hear me doing promos all month on there, recommending other beautifully Black podcasts that you should be checking for as well. So shout out to iTunes and TuneIn for showing us that love. I know iTunes featured us last year as well, so shout out to them coming back for the repeat.
Shout out to y'all.
And also, we want to take a moment to show some love to those of you who enjoy this very show and drop us a review. So I'll start with Miss Professional. Says, y'all are the best. The best podcast and the best social media presence other than Will Smith. That's very true. That's very true.
We appreciate that. Thank you for your honesty.
I will happily take the silver medal to Will Smith because he is fucking killing it right now.
Yes, he just came in like late in the game. Just, old man just got it all figured out. Got the social media game unlocked all out the gate. He's winning.
Word.
He's winning. And then Trinita1 says, one of the hoodest, most intellectual podcasts. I love how you're unapologetically Black on your platform. You keep it real and can have meaningful dialogue about current events such as politics and celebrity/entertainment topics. Keep it up.
I don't know about the hood part, but
I'm saying hood. Me?
Nope. We'll take it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
sure. If you mean Black as fuck, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. But yeah, as always, we are eternally grateful for the love that you guys shower upon us. Chicken wings, oxtails, confetti, the whole nine. And yeah, if you just love what you're hearing, definitely, drop us that 5-star review. Slide over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whichever one that you use. I know it's still called iTunes on your Mac. So yeah, just drop us that 5-star review and we'll give you a shout out on the show. Appreciate it. Always. Shall we get to these hot takes, Mr. Hardy?
Let's do it.
Now, after months of suffering through trailers, exclusive photo shoots, and insightful interviews, Marvel's Black Panther is finally dropping this weekend, and life as we know it will never be the same again. As the first big budget feature film with a predominantly Black cast ever, our collective excitement and expectations are obviously through the roof. Mr. Hardy, what are your plans to watch, and what about this movie are you most excited about?
Well, I'm going to be seeing it twice. I am going to be seeing it first with some homies, a pack of Blacks.
Squad.
Going to a theater here in Chelsea and Midtown to see it first there because, that's where we booked the first one. But I also want to hear it. Like, I want to see it around niggas, but like I want to hear it most importantly. So after I see the movie and hear everything, then I'm going to go probably on Sunday to see it up at Magic Johnson Theater, the center of the Black Negro Cinematic Universe in New York City, and see it there, where I'm sure there will be fish fries and Kool-Aid and Hennessy pops and all of the above on sale as well in the theater.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. Probably. I'm sure it's a thing.
It sounds Black enough to me, so
it does.
Roll with it.
But yeah, I want to see it I want to see it in the blackest environment that I can. Since I know this is not something that we're going to be that's going to be happening again ever in our lifetimes. And I'm also really looking forward to just seeing people just hearing how excited people are about getting dressed up. I'm really excited to see what people wear, and I'm quite honestly, I just want to see all this beautiful, graceful aging on screen at the same time without worrying about them being sidekicks or partners or girlfriends or coworkers or
tokens,
secretaries of, you know, someone else, or their whole lives being told in relation to some random white nigga. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, as I hinted at earlier, I had the privilege of attending an advanced screening with Disney. Shout out to Disney for the invite. After the screening, there was a Q&A with the VP of Disney and the screenwriter of the movie, Mr. Joe Robert Cole, who is hereby a god. We will put a Mr. in front of every time we say his name from henceforth. But yeah, I got the opportunity to not only experience the movie, but chop it up with him for a little bit afterwards. And I am just very excited about how immediately after I watched the movie, all I thought was like, oh my God, Friday is going to be insane, because this is the most unapologetically Black experience I've had in I don't know how long. And the last time I was this floored by a Black achievement was when Barack Obama became president. Like, it's that serious, just because as a writer and a creator, to know that we operate within the ceiling of, okay, well, you can be this successful, but we're not going to give you this kind of budget to be as successful as like an Iron Man. Or so the fact that like Marvel cut a $200 million check and said, y'all can do what you want. And instead of having to do less with more, you can do more with more. And to see what Ryan Coogler did with that money, he spent every last of that $200 million, and I do not blame him. Yeah, this movie is incredible. I cannot wait to experience it again and again and again in the company of, you know, my people. I have plans to go to the Baldwin Plaza, the blackest movie theater probably in LA. Then I'm going to go across the street and beat on some drums at Lamar Park afterwards. So I'm definitely excited about this movie, and I cannot wait for it to bless everybody so that I can stop walking around like I'm constipated and just get out what I need to say about the movie. Also this week, legendary musician and mogul, Mr. Quincy Jones. Oh boy. He was kind enough to bless us all with a rather salacious interview with Vulture.
Quincy recently sat down with Vulture for an in-depth interview about the state of the music business and made some pretty interesting claims. Quincy said that he loves current artists like Bruno Mars. Yes, Jeannie, have your moment.
Quincy. Yes.
Chance the Rapper, Kendrick Lamar, and Ed Sheeran. However, when it came to Michael Jackson, who Quincy worked very closely with, he claimed Michael stole music from several artists, including Donna Summer.
Wow.
Quincy also said that he believes that the Beatles were, quote, the worst musicians in the world.
In it, he accused Michael Jackson of stealing songs and lying about his myriad of plastic surgeries. He exposed JFK's assassin. He outed Richard Pryor as a bisexual, which was later confirmed by Richard's ex-wife. He dropped the bombshell that he dated Ivanka Trump, and a bunch of other messy ass shit, though he was decidedly tight-lipped about Cliff Huxtable's alter ego. So you like Brazilian music? so Mr. Hardy, what were your thoughts on gossiping ass Uncle Quincy spilling every last drop of tea in his interview?
First of all, it made me aspire to that age in life where you just don't give a fuck anymore.
Don't give a fuck.
Mean, you don't won your awards. You don't cash your checks. Your kids are grown. Like, you got your Grammys. You got, like, there's nothing no one can take from you at this point. So, I mean, why not just tell it all? You know, so, I mean, of course, you know, you have the issue of, which I can see in some instances, people upset that he, you know, is telling, you know, the business of folks that are dead. But these are things that happen. I mean, shit, it's history. He's telling life as it is. I mean, whether you know, as far as Michael and his, you know, him stealing and the vitiligo and that story being bullshit. I mean, you know, he's always that one. He was with Michael in the studio all those years. He had all this shit to say, and he's the one who's going to have all these things to say about you after you're dead and gone. Yeah, it's a catty old crotchety Black man move right there.
Word.
Again, he I don't think he said anything that was like an extreme revelation. I mean, these are things that people have hinted to as far as, Michael's skin condition and, Richard Pryor out here fucking everything down. As far as Marlon Brando, I think that's overreacting, because the biggest thing people need to be concerned about is that what he said about John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. We being as a community, we give Willow and Jaden Smith so much shit because we're like, yo, they're wilding out. And people like me always say, like, part of the reason we look at them this way is because we've never seen free Black children before. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids that just do not give a fuck because they can afford not to give a fuck.
Yep.
And on the flip side of that is Quincy Jones. He's like the old nigga that's a free nigga. And we just haven't, we just don't see that very often. So yeah, man, it's just an old adage that old Black men don't die with secrets.
Nope.
If you ask the right questions, them niggas will tell you everything. You know what I'm saying? You'll find out who killed Pac and Big. You'll find out why Kyrie demanded a trade from Cleveland. You'll find out why Will's dad didn't want him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna find out like everything you need to know about your life, your culture, your family, everything. If you ask a Black man who's over the age of like 75, if you just ask the right questions. So personally, they got all the time in the world. So personally, I found the interview messy as hell, but I ain't gonna lie, the shit made me laugh. So, because dude really has no chill except when it came to Mr. Cosby. But, shout out to Uncle Quincy for earning a lifetime ban from the family reunion. Real talk. And that's about it, man. So as we slide into this next segment of our show, Patreon, sir. Tell these fine people at home why a independent entity such as ourselves is reliant and sustains off a platform like Patreon.
Hey, y'all. Hey, how you doing? So, Patreon, right? Patreon is this thing that allows you to help two independent, humble Black children from the School of the Hard Knocks continue to be great in this awful, cruel, sugar grits loving world. To be great out here and continue to produce a podcast that educates the Black youth and spreads pertinent and useful and engaging and insightful information and stories and perspectives about mental health and the inner lives of members of the Black community who often don't have their lives shared by the mainstream media. It's a way for you to support our endeavors to be great and to lead us away from a life of strife and drugs and drug addiction.
Hallelujah.
You helping us on Patreon is your way to ensure that we continue to be great with all of our teeth in our mouth, producing wonderful content for the world that you can listen to in your ear for mostly free $99, and also on our website at theextraordinarynegroes.com, and to help keep us alive and keep you from being a racist. So I say it's a pretty good thing.
Yes. And as always, you can hit up patreon.com/theextraordinarynegroes. And as we always say, if Patreon is not your ministry, we graciously accept donations via PayPal on paypal.me/theextranegroes. So either way you want to help us out, we will gladly pass around the collection plate and help keep this thing afloat. So our last episode, Mr. Hardy, what'd you hear about it?
A friend who I went to high school with, she is also a Native American. She hit me up and said that, first of all, she was excited because you don't really hear, well, she doesn't really hear, she said, Native American, Indigenous people, just in the general conversation, in the normal mainstream conversation of, media, everyday life, unless it has to do particularly with protests or particularly with, some injustice. So he said it was just good to have another platform for someone like Dallas to be able to share his story, share the work that he's doing, some of the strives and things that he's, that he's made. Yeah, that was really the main thing. Just the excitement to see, to hear these stories that we hear in the news, but we really don't hear, as she told me, you don't get to hear about the people on the front line, like as people, as like, their individual stories. You don't hear about them as human beings, just as opposed to this person from a headline, this picture from a news story. So person I spoke to, yeah, she was really, really excited to hear both about Dallas because she had known about him, but didn't know really his story. She seen his picture on the news. But yeah, that was the main thing. Just glad that we're out here telling more stories that need to be told.
Well, first and foremost, I owe every last one of our listeners an apology, because the initial file that I uploaded was fucked up. Because generally I play it back before I upload it, But this time I was running behind, so I just uploaded it. And then in the morning when I wake up, we had a bunch of like people on social media hit us up like, what are y'all doing? This interview's jacked up. We can't hear it because I guess the audio was layered. So it sounded like two different files playing at the same time. So then I had to upload the correct file. So if you still have yet to listen to this episode, I apologize. I plead for you to go back and listen to it. I fixed it within like 2 hours, but if you are listening on like Apple Podcasts, I think it automatically downloads it. So you might need to download it again so that it downloads the correct file, if that makes sense. So yeah, don't listen to the one that it initially downloaded. I apologize for that. My bad. I fucked up. But it's definitely a great interview. This is actually one of the episodes that I probably heard the most back from. A lot of people really appreciated the fact that we explored the dynamic between the indigenous and Black communities, because far too often indigenous people are virtually invisible, which is why that episode was called The Forgotten Ones, because people tend to forget that, yeah, they're still here too.
Yes.
And I say it all the time. I mean, Black folks got it bad, but arguably indigenous people have it worse.
Yep.
Yeah, people were really excited about this episode and really grateful that, we explored kind of their challenges and kind of put them up on, what's going on in that community. And, like I said, kind of created a bridge between the different communities to be better. I hate the term allies, but, better contemporaries in order to collectively combat white supremacy, systemic oppression, and, injustice. So thank you, Dallas, for coming through. And reaching out to us and coming on to our show. And he gave us a great interview. He's a great dude, great energy. If you aren't following him on social media, I strongly encourage you to do so, because he definitely keeps me abreast on so much that's going on with that community. So he's definitely a valuable resource. But on this episode, who do we got coming through?
On today's episode, we have a great couple, Myra and Del Parks. They are a couple based out of New Orleans. They traveled to Ghana. They got tired of the fuckery happening here in the States, packed up their family, their kid, and we're going to talk to them about how they transitioned, why they transitioned, and some things they learned about themselves and what it's been like for them since they've been back so far.
Oh, this is going to be some good shit. Just in time for Black Panther, y'all. So,
yes.
But before we get into that, let's get into some motherfucking shrimp and grits.
It's the questions. It's the questions, boy. It's the questions. It's the questions. Come on, the questions. It's the questions, boy. It's the questions. It's the questions. Yeah, it's the questions. It's the questions.
All right, now, Chance asks, what are your favorite Eminem and Tupac songs? And has that song impacted the person you are today? I'll go ahead and let you take it away, Alex.
That's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker.
Take mine.
Yes, because I love both of these people so much. My favorite. See, I actually used to listen to, like, I had a moment where I was listening to Eminem back in the.
It was dope.
Yeah,
I'm an M80. You little like that Kim lady.
I don't know when he veered off and became something else,
No.
but
I can tell you exactly when he veered off. And his first, no, let me think. I think it's the Eminem Show was the last album of his where I was like, okay. But he started doing that quote unquote white Pac thing where he started yelling.
oh yeah,
Then I was out.
Yeah, okay.
I think that was like 2002, 2003. So I've been off this bandwagon for a long time, but I'm gonna let
Slim
you finish.
Shady, yeah. I mean, let me see. I can't even like. He had some weird shit going on in a lot of those moments, but I just think like lyrically, probably the one that I remember the most and that I thought that's probably the most impressed by was probably Stan. Was probably one of them. Probably Stan.
Okay.
And just for the impact that it's had in the culture. Tupac wise,
All you motherfuckers, fuck you too.
You don't strike me as a
just
Tupac.
thinking like, what the hell? Yeah, I don't even know. Dear Mama, I don't know. Who the hell knows?
This is an interesting choice of rappers. Like out of all the rappers, why these two? I'm confused. But I would say my favorite Eminem song is Dead Wrong with Biggie. That shit was hard. Because I think that was one where he started off talking about there's several different levels of devil worship and horses heads.
Yeah.
That shit was hard. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite Eminem song, although it's not really his, but he's on it, so whatever. As far as Tupac, I was never really a fan of Tupac. I was a Biggie fan, and I thought Tupac was a shithead. that was just, constantly instigating and antagonizing and starting shit. I hated Tupac when I was growing up. So,
And if you want to be down with Bad Boy, then fuck you too.
that being said, I was a big fan of I Get Around
Okay.
because that was my shit back in the day, but I was like 15.
I like California
so.
Love too.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool song too.
I don't know
but,
if
yeah, but how have each of these songs impacted the people we are today?
Not at all.
They taught me not to get around.
Stan definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, show me the limits of pop culture worship.
Be leery of groupies.
Yeah, because like, don't be out here confessing your love to celebrities via letter. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an
Don't
interesting
be a crazy,
question.
not even crazy, because crazy is an ableist word, but don't be a weird white guy obsessed with another weird white guy rapper. Anyway,
Yeah.
Monique asks.
Okay.
Monique asks, your annual Black History Month social media campaign, The Extraordinary Negro of the Month, is not only hilarious, but insightful and the highlight of my entire year. How in the hell did you guys come up with that? And why don't you do it to the rest of the year? It's amazing.
Well, first and foremost, if you aren't following us on social media, I strongly suggest that you do so right now. On Instagram, we are at The Extra Negroes. On Facebook, we're The Extraordinary Negroes. And on Twitter, we're at The Extra Negroes. So that's the first thing you can do so you can experience this joyous, momentous occasion that Monique is talking about. Now that we got that out the way, I really honestly don't remember how the hell we came up with this idea. Do you remember?
I just feel like, I think I know it was last year during Black History Month, before Black History Month, and I just remember we're trying to come up with something to do to commemorate, to like commemorate Black History Month. And people do series and, little factoids and things like that and hashtags throughout the month, but we wanted to create something memorable. And I mean, we just figured that, I think maybe we just might have been on the phone and just tossing out some titles and like Extraordinary Negroes. It really felt like the natural thing to do. And so I think it just became like, we didn't want to do your typical like, George Washington, Carver, Harriet. I mean, although they're important, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, all these old niggas who are important.
we just wanted something that was true to our voice. You know what I'm saying? Like
and memorable.
Yeah, and memorable. So yeah, it's just a matter of, like Alex said, I think we just bounced around. I mean, that's generally how things happen. I'll call him with an idea or he'll call me with an idea and we'll just hash it out and be like, let's do it. So, whether it's that, whether it's the Melanin Masquerade we do for Halloween or, you know what I mean? It's just, I think it's just something we just made up, but definitely blew up.
I love it because like it's like we met through writing, and I think like it's like just we have the podcast, like this is great, but I think that is just a great way for us to like for I think for those who don't know, like before we had this podcast, we did a series together called Across the Aisle, and for me it just feels like reminiscent of that, just like the us being able to create together and do the thing that we met doing, or the thing that we first noticed each other through doing together, and highlighting people in a way that is definitely memorable and you're not going to see in textbooks and on all the other Black sites on the world on the site. So we're definitely glad that people are loving it and that we're able to create something that people look forward to. People really seem to be looking forward to this year.
Yeah, like every day. I mean, if it comes out too late, like we'll get like a DM or like a message or like somebody will post on our page and be like, yo, where's it at? So
yeah, it's real out here.
And to clarify, because I had somebody ask me this today, the only people writing these are me and Alex. I promise you, there's nobody else. That's it. Because somebody specifically asked me this today, like, you guys are writing so many of these. How many other people are, can I write one for you? And I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. The only people writing these is Alex Hardy and Jay Connor. We have written every single one of these. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, it's just the two of us. It's good. It's fun. It's like a obstacle. It feels like an obstacle course. Like it's high pressure, but it's fun.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too whenever they like respond, because like I know Prince De Jour from what's it called?
Teen Summit.
From Teen Summit. His kids like reposted him, and then he was like, "Oh man, this is dope," whatever. So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Whenever like they get to see these two, or even reach out to us, because I know that the Judy Winslow one,
yes.
Jamie Foxworthy responded to. So it's cool that we're like celebrating these unheralded Black champions in the way that we're doing. And I think today's was today's the big piece of chicken, or was it yesterday?
It was today.
And then what was yesterday's? The brownstone mask choir. So yeah, definitely make sure that y'all are following us on social media. Otherwise, you're only getting a small quarter of the Extraordinary Negroes experience.
Oh, and to answer our question, we don't do it for the whole year because the shit's hard to do.
Shit is work, man.
It's hard to do. Although there are of course 365 worthy Black folks who, have done great things, but yeah, I don't know. We'll work up to it. Maybe we'll stick with weekly and highlight people as they do things of note, but daily is a challenge, even in 1 month.
Yes, absolutely a challenge. And hey, if you got a bag and you want us to do a book, because I've had a few people say like, hey, you guys should do an Extraordinary Negro of the Month book. By all means, you know what I mean? Hit us up, the Extraordinary Negroes at gmail.com. We can make this happen. Alex and I can churn this out. It's nothing.
We will get you a motherfucking book. Don't play.
That's real.
It will happen.
Got built. But yeah, thank y'all for these questions. If you have any other colorful questions, creative questions for us that you would like for us to ask on the show, definitely hit us up. Shoot us an email, theextraordinarynegroes at gmail.com, or you can hit us up on social media. Send us a tweet, reply on one of our posts. Just any way you can get a hold of us. Definitely get these questions in. We love answering them, and they bring so much to our show, and we love to interact with our audience. So shall we get on with this interview, Mr. Hardy?
Let's get to it.
All right, let's hit it. Based out of New Orleans, Myra and Del Parks are the brilliant minds behind the Repat Diaries, a blog which strives to generate awareness of what it's really like to live and travel through Africa from first-hand experiences. Their hope is that their work will teach and inspire others to follow their dreams while discovering a life worth living, and to discover the untold stories of descendants of African slaves who have returned home to Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Philadelphia Eagles players and the fans that willed them to their first Super Bowl victory, Myra and Del Parks.
Hi,
How you guys doing? Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through.
No problem.
Thank you so much for having us.
Now, you reached out to us and told us about your story, and I absolutely had to make sure that I got you guys on, especially now since, Black Panther has everyone charged up and more in tune and excited about our African heritage than arguably ever before. So what's the best way that we can delve into this miraculous, marvelous tale that you guys have? Tell us about your experience here in the States and how you came to the decision to pursue something different elsewhere.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. Prior to the move, Del and I had already talked about traveling internationally and possibly raising our son overseas. We have a 5-year-old son together. So it was already a discussion. And about 2 years ago, we went to Ghana for my 30th birthday and we fell in love with it. And Del had previously been to South Africa and he loved it. And so we kind of started playing around with the idea of maybe we should move to Africa. And I think at that time, too, it was we were living these mundane lives, work, home, you know how it is. And we were in LA at the time. And LA is just a very peculiar place. And myself, I'm from New Orleans. Del is from Atlanta. So we're Southerners. So living in LA for us was why did we come here? So I think the environment, the lifestyle, everything just had us man, it might be time to do something different. So we kind of just went for it, right, Del?
Decided we wanted to just shake it up a little bit, not have these same old routine lives that everybody else was living. So we decided it was time to go abroad and see what was over there for us.
Right.
What y'all not going to do is come on my show and disrespect my city. That's what y'all not going to do.
But
Hey.
I can keep it in LA, okay?
It is a weird city. It is a weird city.
I mean, just because we're so used to everybody being so close-knit and friendly. Everybody was like, yeah, you stay on the other side of the 405. We can't come see you.
That's real.
All of our friendships were based on proximity, and they did not last very long. Y'all live where? Okay, well, we'll holler at you.
No, that's real. Because anytime somebody's like, hey, you should come through to this thing I got going on in Long Beach, I'm like, nah, player. Yeah, I got about a 10-mile radius, and I live downtown. So it's anything outside of that, if I can't take a lift, nah, player.
Exactly. So when you kind of decided that you were ready to make that transition, how did you as far as set your goal as far as how much you need as far as saving? Did you have a time frame together? Or did you just set a goal X amount of months out? Like, how did that process go?
Oh, okay. So basically what happened was we were actually, when we came back from Ghana, we actually set a goal to move in June of 2017. And right around July of 2016, I came home from work and I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm tired of going to work every day. I'm tired of not doing nothing every day. I said, we're going to go ahead and make this move in January. And Myra was like, seriously? You got to leave in like 6 months? I was like, yeah, we're going to make this move in January. And so at that point, we had already been saving money, but we kind of kicked that into high gear. We were doing some research and we were like, okay, to move to Ghana, the average person there makes about $20,000 a year. And so if we make, that's living good. So we were like, if we save $20,000 with golden, we can go there, try to figure out, what we're going to do as far as starting a business. And we can try to make it work at least for, a year without having to worry about like making income as soon as we get there. So that was our goal initially, $20,000. We end up saving way more than that over that 6 months, but that was our goal.
No, we went hard. We were banking like 75% of our incomes. It was not a game. Like we're talking cutting cable. Like we weren't eating out. Like really, like the most minimalist dedicated. Life. I think, very minimalist. The most dedicated I think we've ever been about finances prior to then.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How was that? Like how
especially in LA.
how much sacrifice? What was that sacrifice like? Were you cutting like no barbershop, no nail appointments?
No, it wasn't that serious. I mean, like, because with Del is such like I would say he's a guru when it comes to finances. So he did it where like we had a family budget. Like he made an Excel sheet. We put everything down, all of our expenses, and we budgeted out everything. So if we wanted to do something like go to the barbershop, that had to be in the budget. If it wasn't in the budget, you can't do it. Like it was that serious. So
but I mean, it was some of the things we did at home anyway. Like I have locks. We both have locks. So Myra was doing both of our hair. So that wasn't a big deal. My son, I was cutting his hair. I mean, I ain't the best barber, but we were getting it done. So at the end of the day, no, he wasn't jacked up or anything, but we were getting it done. There were just certain things that we felt weren't necessary. I mean, like you said, we cut the cable off because we were watching TV online or Netflix or whatever the case may be. And it was just other little things that we started to get rid of that we didn't necessarily need.
But it's not very often you hear people say we saved over $20,000 in 6 months. Like that's just something that like that's a humble brag. Like it's just like, oh yeah, 6 months. We just needed to put up about $600,000. Ain't shit.
Hey, you gotta do what you want to do. Real hard.
So the question I have is usually when people decide that they want to move, like they say, I want to go to like Atlanta or I want to go to New York. The fact that y'all decided to go on a whole nother ass continent, like how did you guys decide to go from here to an entirely different continent?
I think that was more so me because I always wanted to go to Ghana. Like I think as far back as like the early 2000s, I kind of had this pull there. And so that was the reason why for my 30th, we actually took that trip to Ghana because that's what I wanted to do. And then after that, it was kind of like, something about this place resonates with me. And so, the conversation kind of started after that. Like, I think Africa might be the move. And then me being the researcher I am, Del is good with the money. I'm kind of the researcher and the one who connects with people. So researching, I was like, do you realize how many business opportunities on the continent though? Like we losing right now. So I was like, not only would it be a good idea to go and either visit or live there, we can also make some serious money.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was like a multitude of things that kind of was like, Africa might be the move. So.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, always, I wanted to move out of the country anyway. Yeah. Especially just to experience a different culture. I had this thing for traveling where I just can't sit still. And so I was thinking England and it was some other places we had talked about. But when she brought up Africa, I was like, okay, let's give it a try. Like she said, I had been to South Africa and it was great. It was beautiful. I was like, man, I could live here. So when we went to Ghana, I was like, this has some potential as well. And like she said, it really like resonated just to see, people who look like us were supposedly running their country and things of that nature. So it was a great experience. And I was like, let's give it a go, especially if we can go make some money and make some connections.
Yeah.
So if things don't work out with Myra, because Del, you nice with the finances, Is there any way you and I can, have a, you know what I'm saying? Like, can we have, if romance isn't your thing, you know what I'm saying? Because I've never had a boyfriend or a husband before, to clarify. But if the romantic angle isn't possible, any way you could like adopt me or something, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to see where how much money I can save between now and June. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, you'll be surprised.
I give you that 6-month window, or actually, my bad, July.
I mean, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I mean, we were actually doing consultations with people, and I was just, finding money for them. Like, yeah, you can save right here, you can save right there. People like had no clue.
Yeah.
Wow.
We just throw away so much money in our community, but I think we all know that. So
yeah,
it's not far-fetched to be able to save. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so you touched down in Ghana, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
What's that experience like when you first touched down?
Before we actually left, again, I'm the one who does the connection. So there's actually like several different Facebook groups and like WhatsApp groups that are out there where there's people that want to move to the continent. And when I went on the search, I didn't even think that I was going to find as many as I did. And we actually linked up with a really good brother, Lamont Slater, who started a group on Facebook. The brother is a graduate of Morris Brown, and he started this group because him and his wife have been going back and forth to Africa for years, and they're like in their late 40s. He started this group, we joined the group, and we just started making connections like crazy. So when we got to Ghana, we actually knew some African Americans who were already living there.
Oh, dope.
So when we got there, it's almost like we had a little family kind of waiting for us. So it wasn't like we got there and we were like, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
We had a lot of connections on the ground already. So that worked in our favor.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of technology now. You can go to new places, a whole new country. You don't really know anyone, but, thanks to technology and groups and social media, you can, have a whole tribe waiting for you before you even touch down and get there.
I'm trying to tell you.
We had a whole family waiting for us.
Whole family.
When we went in 2015, we actually had connected with a Ghanaian brother, and he introduced us to his whole family when we went there.
Yeah.
And so they were actually waiting on us when we came back.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is to accept that Facebook friend request.
Yeah,
that's the moral of the story.
And check that other inbox also, because
yes. You never know.
Hey, it's serious, man.
So you guys get to Ghana. You guys have like this tribe waiting for you. What is that experience initially like?
It was kind of like, it was overwhelming, to be honest. And it was a bit scary because it's like, man, we're really entrusting our lives to strangers. But at the same time, there was like this sense of comfort, like, no, like I think they got our back though. I think we'll be fine. Like we really, this was a straight faith move. Like we stepped out on this not knowing how this would turn out, but just knowing that we would be good. And it really turned out like that. We were good. One of our friends that we connected with, he owns a lodge there. And we didn't even know before going that his plan was to have like almost like this transitional space for people who wanted to repatriate. So he would, like, you would stay with him for a certain amount of time. He would kind of show you the ropes. This is how public transportation. This is how much things should cost in a market, like all of that. And then he would send you out on your own. So before we got there, we didn't even know that this is something that he wanted to do. And once we got there and we sat down and talked with him, we were like, man, we at the right place at the right time with the right person.
Yeah, we were the guinea pigs for that. We were the very first ones.
Yeah, we were. We were the very first ones that he was like, I got y'all. Don't worry about it. I got y'all. This is going to be like a boot camp, an African boot camp for y'all. Y'all going to know exactly what to do. Give me like 3 to 6 months. Y'all be straight.
That's how it works though. Like, when I moved to Panama, like that was my first time living abroad. I don't know. That's your first time for either of you living abroad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, one thing I found was that like I was I wouldn't say a shy person, but I was introverted before then. I wouldn't like go out to eat by myself. I wasn't really going out to club and to do going to the movies and socializing a lot by myself. But moving abroad to Panama, and I did have a family there. I was able to create one thanks to social media, but I was able to come out of my shell a little bit and become a little bit more outgoing. Mm-hmm. Like, did you notice any of those types of changes in yourself as far as, going somewhere else and having to learn a new culture and, open up, and like, what was that like socially for you?
Well, it was definitely changed for me. I'm pretty much like you, Alex. I had kind of shy, kind of introverted, kind of like being by myself a little bit. But being in a different culture, I was kind of interested in what people had going on. I wanted to talk to people, learn more about what they did, why they did it, things like that. So I came out of my shell a little bit more as well. And for me, it was great because I made a lot of connections with people otherwise wouldn't have met.
I think for me, I just was Myra.
She's a social
Myra.
butterfly.
Yeah.
She was like, I was out there.
was
Yo, I was
amazing.
living my best
Yeah,
life.
she's a social butterfly.
All right, so when you guys were out there, what was different from the States?
Everything.
Well, you gotta. So we gotta put this into context real quick. Now, mind you, this last year we've been to 10 different countries, right? So yeah, that's 10 different environments, 10 different cultures, languages, food, people. So it's very hard to say what was different in each place in comparison to America. But I think overall, to me, the total difference was just that I didn't think people were probably as social as I was expecting.
Yeah.
Because, here in the States, like African Americans, we're extremely social. I mean, we party, we barbecue, we'll talk, we'll see you in the street. All right, how you doing? Walking down the street. All right, cousin Pete, whatever. That's just how we are. But there, people, a lot of times, our continental brothers and sisters can come off very guarded. And it might just be like they're trying to fill you out. They don't really know what to expect. I don't know. They see us as, I know you come from here, but you're really American. There's this but, ... So a lot of times there isn't this initial, I'm just going to open up. Now, what I do know is that West Africans, in my opinion, were very different than like Northern and Eastern. They're a lot more friendly. But, I mean, that was my opinion. I don't know, Del, if you agree or disagree.
No, I definitely agree. On the west side of Africa, they remind me a lot more of African Americans.
Yeah.
They're a lot more boisterous. They're out there. They're friendly. They welcome you into their homes. That type of stuff. The rest of them, they do take a while to warm up. And we kept hearing that, you got to be around for an extended period of time before people start talking to you or, really try to know you type of deal. So that was very different, especially with us being from the South.
Word, you was like, yo, I'm trying to make friends now. I'm not trying to wait.
Exactly. I mean, it makes it hard. You're in a whole new place and you like, okay, I need to meet some people and hang out. Like, I'm not trying to be here and be stuck in the house.
Yeah.
Word.
But other things come into play, like language barriers and things like that too, cultural differences.
That too. And I know also when you go to these other places, like, for example, in Panama, you had a huge community of expatriates and people who had come from other places. And so I don't know if it was like that there, but you see a lot of like people from, for example, these American hubs in Ghana, for example, where all the Americans stick together. They eat with Americans. They live with Americans. They date the Americans. They like, it's just like having your own little same community of people from home, but somewhere else, and you're not really incorporating with the local community. So
yeah, they have that. It's bigger in Ghana than I think any of the other places that we went. They have a huge expat community.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So to clarify, you guys just didn't stay in one country. You guys bounced around.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like after 2 months, almost 3 months in Ghana, we were like,
not for
nope.
us.
So instead of just kind of calling it quits and coming back here, we both decided that, well, maybe we need to kind of see what the other countries look like. And I mean, we got a nice little cushion, and it shouldn't be that expensive traveling around the continent. So let's see. And we chose the ones that we were interested in, either just visiting or possibly living in. And that's the ones we went to.
So during this experience, bouncing between different countries, like, what did you learn about yourself during this process of going to different countries?
Okay. What then we learned? I think by the time we made it to Togo, once we left Ghana, because when we decided to leave Ghana, it was a big uproar from the followers. Like, why are you guys leaving Ghana? And we were like, it's just certain things that we're not going to deal with.
Yeah.
And we were like, we have a 5-year-old son, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure he's comfortable. We want to make sure we're comfortable. So we had to bounce from Ghana. But it was like, by the time we made it to Togo, it was like, we're not going to put up with living less than we had in the States. And I think a lot of people were expecting us to.
Oh.
So we kept having this conversation about what it means to live like an African, what it means to be in Africa and live like an African. And I was like, a lot of people were kind of telling us you need to bring your standards down a little bit. And I was like, you don't have to live in Africa and have less standards than you have living in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was like this kind of, I don't know, this underlining tone of, you guys are just too American for Africa type of deal. Like you're going there with your Western mindset. And you need to kind of take that off and then live like Africans live. That was kind of this thing. And I'm like, I don't know what that really means, because I see some real wealthy Africans over here. So what does that mean? I mean, like, I'm talking
Yes.
Range Rovers and Bentleys and mansions and all of this stuff. And we talking about these societies are pay as you go societies. If you don't have the money, you ain't got it. If you're building a home, you're literally building a home from the ground up as you get the money. When you're importing a car, you're importing a car paid for with the taxes and the duties. So I'm like, how is it that you are telling us that we're supposed to live like an African? Because I don't really know what that looks like. Nigeria is pushing out billionaires. So I'm kind of confused as to what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? So there was this kind of like unspoken, oh, you need to kind of, bring your standards down. And for us, we were like, no, I'm not going 8 to 12 hours without lights. Lights is a big problem in Ghana. We want clean water. We're going to have clean water, like it's just certain stuff. And we were just like, okay, no.
That's real. No, I mean, that is real. I'm sure that's something that travelers, especially from America, we have a very American-centric way of viewing the world. And a lot of times we definitely expect other places to either be like us or be accommodating to us. So I could imagine it can be culture shock going everywhere and it not being like, oh, this ain't just like America. Or like,
yeah, I think for us though, it wasn't necessarily that we see that a lot of our continental brothers and sisters are doing very well. So for people to have this perception, as if, especially those of us who've never been to the continent, to have this perception that everybody is poor and hungry and thirsty and homeless, for us, I mean, I have to be honest with you. I didn't know that would bother me as much as it did. And I realized how much we don't really know about that side of the world. We really have an assumption that everybody's poor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And in part, that's the blame for the media, but also we're to blame as well because we don't educate ourselves on what the various countries. I mean, there's people out there that think Africa is a country, you know what I'm saying? So in keeping in line with, the standards that you guys had while you were there, which country had the best jollof rice? Who had the best jollof? Like, I got to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it a buck.
I'm going to be honest. Ghana had the best jollof rice, in my opinion. And there was this one particular spot that had it. When we got to Senegal, they were looking at us like, jollof rice, what are you talking about? They didn't even know what we were talking about. But we called it, they call it a different name. Yeah, they call it a different name. But I preferred the one in Ghana more so than the one in Senegal.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I got to give it up to Ghana. I really do.
No, that jollof rice is good.
Their jollof rice reminds me a lot of jambalaya here in New Orleans, which is most likely where we got it from anyways. So that it resonated more with me. So I was like, hands down Ghana, y'all got it.
I miss it now. You're talking about it.
Yeah, you were like, I'm not living here, but I'm taking this rice with me.
So I'm just saying, take that on up.
It's a very contentious battle. One thing I did see, I was reading on your site about homeschooling. What was that like, homeschooling your child while taking this journey through the motherland?
Oh, yeah. This little dude. Okay. So our son, we actually pulled him out of school, I think December of last year. Not last year, but the year before last. And we were getting him prepared, we're going to start talking about, different things, teaching them about different African leaders or different African-American leaders, and just homeschooling him about different cultures or whatever the case may be. He picked up so much information
organically
while we were there, talking about Mandela, talking about
Mugabe
Mugabe. Yeah, that was his favorite, like Mugabe. I was like, he was walking around telling other kids about Mugabe, and I was like, son, like, they were like, who the heck is Mugabe? So, he picking up all this stuff. We were going to visit, we went to visit the pyramids. We talked to him about that. When we were in Morocco, he learned about religion because we went during the week of Ramadan. Even like when we were in Rwanda, he was learning about, the difference between the two tribes, even though we didn't get into details about what happened too much with him, but he was learning about Hutu and things like that. So, outside your everyday regular math and reading and things of that nature, we were trying to introduce him to different things in the culture. We went to visit some slave castles, and even when we came back here, we went to a plantation. So he went with us to all these places. So he was picking up a lot of things, and nowadays he's walking around saying crazy stuff. and people are just looking at him and bust out laughing like, who's teaching this kid these crazy, about white people, and slavery? And he was like, why they come over here and steal all our people and take them back to America?
And he's
it's
5.
just crazy. These are questions that he's asking now.
So yeah, it just, for the most part, I think travel just became his classroom. Like the world became his classroom at that point. And we weren't trying to have this like strategic and rigorous schedule every day. And we just, as we were out, we would talk about different things and we would meet people and he would pick up on conversations and it just kind of happened organically. So yeah, it was an interesting journey even for him.
I like that quote though. Would you say the world was his classroom?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I like that because far too often, especially when it comes to Black children, we don't necessarily have that kind of worldview and that world experience to kind of shape our perspective.
Nope.
And though I'm kind of interested in, because as African Americans, a lot of times we feel kind of like we're not Black enough for Africa. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like we feel like there's kind of like this separation as far as culturally, where we feel like we want to be able to relate to you guys, but we feel like we're too American and we feel like y'all look down on us. Did you guys have that experience while you were out there?
So going back to the initial question you asked about some of the things that we learned about ourselves when we traveled. Well, for me personally, I have officially realized that I don't need Africa to define my Africanness.
Exactly.
And I realized...
You stole the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I realized this after our journey, because the stark reality is that we are so far removed from Africa that we are now our own tribe. Like we are our own tribe in America. Not only are we our own tribe, we also have tribes within tribes, even here in America. And that's okay. And we have to realize that there's not this void, like we're not missing anything.
No.
Now, do we want to connect with our lineage? Yes. However, the people that we are today, I think, is not by mistake. And I think we have to really come to grips with that, because it does mess with you a little bit when you get there and there's not this overwhelming, oh my God, welcome. We've been waiting on you. The ancestors have finally brought you home. Like it's not always like that. It does happen. Don't get me wrong. It happens, but it's not. Typically you have a blue passport. You are Black American. Let's put that out there. Most times you are a Black American, not an African American. And we just kind of assume that you have money. So
exactly.
it becomes, it's like in your face too. And also you're there with all of these other ethnicities. And sometimes you're overlooked. And the European gets waited at the table first, or the Chinese gets on the transportation first. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that we don't think about, because a lot of us think that Africa is this quick fix to all of our issues. And we're just going to touch down on the soil and everything's going to be great. No.
I kind of felt the same way. Like, there's no void anymore. Once you experience it and you go there and you talk to people and you start to really see how you're treated, there's no void. You really get a greater appreciation for being African American and all the things that we've accomplished over the years. So I agree with Myra 100%.
So at what point do you guys decide Africa ain't the move? Let's get with the get down.
Throughout our journey, we actually we came to that decision a couple of different times throughout our journey. When we were in West Africa, it was rough. Think about it. We're in basically countries that speak French, and we don't speak French. So we're trying to make friends, and we can't communicate with many people. They're hard to open up to. They're not opening up to us very well. And there's not many of us around, because we were traveling, and every time we got to a different place, they were like, we barely see African Americans here, unless it was one of your bigger countries like Senegal or Ghana or something like that. So we had this conversation often, like, what are we doing this for? And we were doing it for the experiences. We were trying to find a home. And we kept being like, okay, once we get to Rwanda, that was the last place that we had bought a ticket for. We were like, once we get to Rwanda, we had heard all these great things about Rwanda. We were like, we're going to check it out. If Rwanda doesn't work out, then I don't know what we're going to do. And so we got to Rwanda, and we had a hard time even getting into Rwanda. It was funny. We had a hard time getting into Rwanda. And once we got there, we stayed there for about 3 months. Mm-hmm. And we were chilling. It was good. Rwanda was by far the best country that we went to. But in the back of our minds, we were like, we really miss home. We really miss being around African Americans, doing things that we're accustomed to, just getting a good old spades game or having a barbecue or whatever the case may be. And that started to weigh real heavy on our hearts. And we were like, you know what? I think it's time for us to go back home to be around family. You know, this year was great. We've experienced a lot of great things. And, you know, we're gonna write a book about it. We got a blog about it. We're gonna always have these memories, and we're definitely going to go back to visit. But it was time for us to bring it on back to America and start to be around people, you know, that we knew that loved us and that we could connect with on a deeper level. You had a greater appreciation for it by the time the year came to an end.
You missed the Soul Train Awards that much?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to see the Amigos. Somebody.
We were literally, we were streaming everything we could. We actually watched the New Edition special in where were we at?
We were in Ghana.
In Senegal.
We were in Ghana when we watched it. I think we watched it again.
We were in Ghana when we watched it?
Yeah, I think we watched it. Remember?
Okay.
Remember we watched it with Kobe.
That struggle is real.
Yeah, man. And we was like,
that struggle is real. That whole
Hey, I was over there crying.
What does it say? Is like this video is not available in your country? Like,
oh my God!
Don't mention that. Don't even mention that. There's so much stuff we couldn't get access to.
The struggle is so real. Do you have any any regrets or things that you didn't wish, things that you wanted to do abroad or while you were traveling that you didn't get to do or that you would still like to do?
Start a business.
Yep, that's the only thing. We definitely have plans to invest on the continent. It's a must. That's one of the things that no matter how this turns out, we're going back to invest in Africa one way or another. So that was, I think, probably the one thing that we wanted to do that we just didn't have a chance to do. And also probably, I would say, to see more countries, but we're going to go do that. So and
buy a house. I'll need a house in South Africa.
Yeah, that's a must.
Must find more jollof rice.
Must find more jollof.
So
get that shipped in.
There are people who are listening to this right now and they're thinking like, wow, this is an incredible story, but there's so many other options that they could have had to move. So what made you guys decide to come back to the States as opposed to going to like London or like, you know, Maldives or some other country?
I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of Europe anymore. My mindset changed over the years. I don't want to be there. I would rather be around people who look like us. Yes. We actually thought about still going to like places in the Caribbean. We were thinking about looking at some other places, but we needed to come back and restart, get a fresher.
Yeah. I think for me, I figured using America as a launch pad is probably the best idea at this point. I think we have so much more of a global mindset now. Like, you don't really have to be fixated on any one place. Like, because truth be told, let's be honest, we're kind of the orphans of the world at this point. So I see it as the world is ours. We could be anywhere at any time. And really, we just need a good launch pad. And why not do that at home? So, and I'm from New Orleans. I'm in New Orleans now with my family. And I have to be honest, this is the best place on earth to me. So I'm actually very happy to be home. And I just felt like it was just time.
Listen, that
soft shell crab and all that gumbo. Yo, she like...
I mean,
I can't wait to get back.
I'm living in Little Africa, to be honest. This is Little Africa right here in America. If you ask me, like, we're probably, I would say, the closest thing to it.
That's the only place I've ever been in the States. A city I've been to where I left and I visited and didn't want to leave.
Oh yeah, it happens to everybody.
Exactly. It happens.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love the most about New Orleans is that, like, there's so many different cities where you go, oh, like, this is different. But, like, New Orleans has, like, its whole entire culture, from the way people talk to the food they eat to the way they move to the music to the dancing to the procession parade. Like, everything is indigenous to New Orleans, and you're not finding nowhere else.
Nowhere else in the world. So I'm happy.
So how has this readjustment period been since you came back to the States?
Reverse culture shock is real.
I told you.
It's definitely real. And I don't think I realized too how, I hate to use the word spoiled we are as Americans, but we have a lot of amenities. Everything is at our fingertips, which I guess is a good and a bad thing. But just to come here and be able to do almost anything just from your cell phone, and coming from places where it's hard to even just get a SIM card sometimes. Like, like it's just the dynamics is just crazy. Or even just to be somewhere where they don't even have smartphones yet, and I can order anything I want off of Amazon from my cell phone in 2 minutes. So you know, coming back here, I realized that we take a lot of things for granted. But getting back into realizing the state of our people here, that was a little rough for me. So, yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, it's rough.
No, and I just saw it as an opportunity. I saw so many things that I actually think I can work on here that I didn't see before I left. It became more apparent to me when I was over in Africa. I was like, you know, there are things back in America that we can actually be doing to help our community. One of them, you know, helping our kids learn financial literacy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to progress our community. And I was like, coming back, I actually see it now, going into these schools, and, you know, these kids are, so that's something that we can work on. So that was one of the things that when I came back, I was like, I see more opportunities here now than I seen when I was here.
Did it make you appreciate, and you kind of touched on it as far as like when you wanted to come home? You know, I'm from Virginia. I was living in where was I at the time? I was in LA before, and Panama has black people, but like it made me just miss niggas. Like,
Yes.
I mean, like there's nothing like it. I mean, like, yes, they like rap music. Like, yes, they like, I don't even know how that sounds, but like, yes, they like rap music. They know the culture, they know different things, but like haven't been able to like explain something, you know, or convey something with a nod, or convey something just like the non-verbal, just comforts of just being among, like, you know, being in Atlanta, being in New Orleans. Like, I could just imagine, like, with two very strong cultures there, just like the blackness, the very particular blackness.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I did not realize it until last night, because you know Mardi Gras is going on right now, and we went out last night to one of, like, I would say, like, one of our little hole in the walls here, and they played all of our music from like 99, you know, early 2000s. And when I tell you, I was just like, yes.
Yes.
You know, like Old Juvenile, No Limit, like, you know, they played all our bounce music, and I was like, yes, I'm home. I gotta be honest, I miss niggas. I do miss
That's
niggas.
how I knew.
Come through, niggas.
Hey, come through.
So what would you say to somebody who's contemplating, you know, a similar move to Africa in order to, you know, reingratiate themselves with their roots?
Get your money up. Forget your roots. Get your money up.
No, yeah.
You need at least 60,000. You need at least 60,000.
No, because there's a myth. There's a myth that Africa is cheap. That's another one of those we have to really talk about. It's not. I mean, if you want to do like village life, sure. If your plan is to be in the major cities, get your money right. I would say have a job lined up, or have some type of passive income in place before.
Yes, you definitely need that.
And make connections. Connections are key. If you don't know anybody in these countries, you're going to have a very hard time, and a target on your back. Yes.
But you should definitely still go. It's a great experience. You definitely should go.
I'm going to be relocating to Wakanda on Saturday, so I've been saving up for the last... I've been saving up for a minute. I got a 90,000, didn't quite hit 100. You know what I'm saying? Got a cool 90,000 saved up on Wakanda. I'm out this bitch on Friday.
Oh, you know what I wanted to tell you?
Hey, you're in LA?
I wanted to tell you guys, you realize that like our continental brothers and sisters have issues with us playing African roles. Did you guys know that was a thing?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think we had a conversation about that on our show. I think we had a...
Yeah, the movie Coming to America. Yeah, we didn't know it.
The hugest problem with Coming to America.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Because I mean, I heard it's a matter of...
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a caricature.
Like, I from what I understand, it's a matter of like, they feel that we're not representing the tribes correctly, but a lot of us are unable to identify what tribes we come from.
Yeah,
so anything African we identify with. So, I mean, I can understand both sides.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And then there's also, they feel like, you know, there's the actors and actresses that are capable of playing these roles in Africa. So why not just use them?
I mean, I'm still going to Wakanda on Friday though. So them niggas just gonna have to be mad. You know what I'm saying?
They'll be all right.
So what's next on the horizon for each of you?
Well, we're definitely working on the book about this last year, what that journey looks like from a intimate standpoint. It'll be a memoir. So just kind of the little, conversations that we had amongst ourselves or internally along the way. So that should be exciting. And we're working on some other things. The app, we got an app in progress.
Nice.
Just a few things here. Now I'm not going to tell everything, but we're still moving and shaking, even back in the room.
You know you got bread when you got an app coming. Go ahead, Del.
Outside of the stuff that Myra's talking about, obviously I'm working on some financial stuff. I decided to take a break from the legal stuff and start focusing more on finances. And a lot of what I was just talking about, working with our kids, is something that I'm focusing on right now, but also stocks and things of that nature. So just getting into the investment world a little bit more on my end.
Dope. Yeah. Definitely thank each of you guys for coming through, man. This is an amazing experience. Thank you for sharing it with us.
No problem. Thank you guys for having us.
And to all the listeners out there, please, if you have not been to the continent, make it your business. Just if you just go to one country, just go.
So go somewhere.
Just check it out. So yes, we definitely want to thank y'all for coming through. We have arrived to the portion of the show where we highlight some of our extraordinary Negroes of the week. Now, basically, I don't know if you've listened to this portion, but we just give a little bit of shine. We each choose someone or someone's who we think is a little bit deserving of some special attention, some recognition, and we just want to say some words of encouragement to about that person. So we can go first if you all need more time.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys can go first.
Ooh, pick me. Ooh, pick me. Ooh.
I'll let Jay go first.
Right.
I'm sure I'm
yes.
So you can see how it should be done. He's probably going to steal. Hopefully, he doesn't steal who you're thinking of because he's great at that.
Okay.
But
that I am. My extraordinary Negro of the day is Mr. Joe Robert Cole. For those of you who don't recognize his name, he's the legendary pen behind Black Panther, which is dropping on Friday. So in honor of him making us all citizens of Wakanda, I believe his birthday should not only become a national holiday, but I also decree that he will never have to make himself a plate ever again. At every cookout, he better have a plate already waiting for him. You know what I'm saying? So I had the pleasure of chopping it up with him and the VP of Disney this past weekend at a screening that Disney invited me to. Shout out to Disney for that. And, the pride and the passion that he had in this project was so palpable and just so powerful. You know how, a pastor feels whenever they have this sense of devotion and responsibility to their congregation? It just kind of felt like this dude felt the exact same way about the entire African diaspora. Like he knew the level of representation that this movie meant to each of us, especially to our children, as well as, Hollywood as a whole. So I want to give him a shout out and, thank him for blessing each of us with this movie, and our lives will never be the same again. Real talk. So that's real. That's all I got to say. Mr. Joe Robert Cole, thank you.
It was awesome.
shout out to Joe Robert Cole. About to change lives this weekend and slay the box office, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Do either of you have someone you would like to nominate for your extraordinary Negro of the week?
I'm going to go. I'm actually going to nominate. Well, they're a group of extraordinary Negroes. And I'm going to have to go with Rebirth Brass Band because I'm back in New Orleans and it's just only right.
Yes.
I would have to say Rebirth because I think they've done an amazing job of coupling our African heritage with our New Orleans flavor. And for those of you who don't know who Rebirth is, they're probably the most recognized brass band out of New Orleans. They started in 1983. And back in 2012, they actually won a Grammy for the best regional roots music album. And what I have to tell you is they are definitely connected to our roots. When you hear that beat, you know where we come from. It's unmistakable, and you cannot compare it to anything else. And I just have to say, now that I'm back home, I have so much more appreciation for our culture, and our music is very rich. So yes, Rebirth Brass Band from New Orleans, Louisiana. That's why I nominate.
I got to see them once. They are phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Absolutely.
It was like a religious experience, somewhat.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah. And, just being in the room with them seeing them for the first time and me being around soulful white people who can actually dance for the first time. It's like, oh, wow. What the hell is happening?
Oh, yeah. They exist. They do exist. They're like unicorns, but they exist.
Yeah. Something in the water down there.
Yeah, true.
All right, Del.
I actually am going to stand on what Myra said. I can't think of anybody for some reason.
Well, nominate your child for the Extraordinary Negro of the Week.
Nominate my child. Delvecchio Parks II, huh? He is an extraordinary Negro. He's been around the world. He has more passport stamps than I think a lot of grown people have at this point. He's definitely a unique child. He handled the transition very well. He learned a lot, and he's teaching his family about a lot of the things that he's learned over the past 12 months, I should say. So I think he's a very extraordinary young man because he handled this with so much bravery and so much courage. So I don't know too many 5-year-olds that would have been able to handle moving around like we did.
Resilience.
Word.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's teaching this.
And shout out to Vaccinate.
Yes. And teaching his fellow youth about revolutionary leaders and such afterwards and stuff.
That's right.
Definitely.
I have several extraordinary Negroes of the week.
Oh my God! Seriously?
See, he's making up for mine. Go ahead, Alex.
In light of what's approaching this weekend, of course, what should for some be considered a national holiday with the release of Marvel's Black Panther. My extraordinary Negroes of the week is going to be every Black person who's ordered their fabrics, who has installed a red carpet in their car, who has got the finest of gold pieces and diamonds for their hair, who has prepared their biggest deep purses to smuggle Popeyes into the theater. Everybody who is about to go this weekend and show entire out for this movie. Yes. A moment that will never happen. And I just wait, no, that doesn't happen. That's not a rule. But everyone who's about to go and see this movie and make everyone uncomfortable, make white people, the mainstream folks, uncomfortable with your overt and extra and aggressive Blackness, you are my extraordinary Negroes of the week. I think that we just need every moment that they can find to fucking marvel at our greatness and just extreme Blackness. And I just say, like, this should be your moment to be as Black as you can, as in public and as loud as possible, and regardless of who it makes uncomfortable, live your best life, let your melanin shine bright, and enjoy the fuck out of seeing yourself on movie, because we don't get this opportunity enough. And live it up as much as you can.
See, the reason I was going to interject is because when I went to the screening that Disney invited us to, there were Black folks there in their full garb, and I was like, live your best life. This is our moment. Handle your shit. Like, even at an advanced screening, they was ready. Like, they was like, this shit is not I'm talking head to toe. Like, they had capes, they had like everything, you know what I'm saying? The scarves, like they had the cane. Homie came in there with like the damn lion mane around his neck. Like, yo, it is not again. I cannot stress this enough that if you do not watch this during opening weekend, you are missing out on a Black ass experience, because we will never experience this again.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, we will.
And they're already, like, I've already seen, what if we had a KKK movie and just all of this ridiculousness? Like, I just want to see all of it. Like, have your canes, have your fucking lions, have your fucking white slaves holding your cape when you walk. Do it up.
Oh my God.
I'm hiring. You know how many white slaves I'm hiring this weekend?
Do it up.
You gotta put them to work. Help with
do it up.
Solamur Park.
Oh yeah.
You know what's so funny? When we ever wanted to feel like really, really Black, that's where we would go. Because outside of that, right. I don't know.
AKA Little Africa.
AKA Little Africa.
All the time.
Wow. Well, thank you both for joining us on this extremely Black-ass installment of the Extraordinary Negroes. Where can the people find you? What do you can locate you on the internet if they want to find out about what more you have going on?
Okay, so you can find us on Facebook at the Repat Diaries. You can find us on Instagram at the Repat Diaries, or YouTube, or you can go to our website, which is www.therepatdiaries.com. We're all over the place.
Boom. And of course, you can subscribe to The Extraordinary Negroes if you haven't already, for whatever reason, on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, or your platform of choice. If you do like what you're hearing, please drop us a review as well. And of course, a lovely comment. And when you tell your friends about how amazing we are, follow us on Facebook at The Extraordinary Negroes, on Twitter and Instagram, of course, at The Extra Negroes. And tell a friend over 50, share as far and wide, drink water.
And you know what else? Dream those dreams, then man up, woman up, and live those dreams, because a life without dreams is black and white, and the universe flows in technicolor and surround sound. Blow. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.
Bye.